Welcome to In the Trenches, where entrepreneurs, artists, writers, designers, inventors, warriors, and leaders share their stories of doing the hard, creative work that impacts all of our lives. Let the journey inspire you to do something worthwhile, build something bold, and create your life's work. And now, your host, Tom Morkis.
Welcome back, everyone, to another broadcast of In the Trenches. I'm really excited to have on today's show Rob Wormley, who is the head of content marketing at When I Work, and who also co-wrote 100 Days of Growth with Sujin Patel, which is a great book on growth hacking, and we'll make sure to link it up in the show notes. And it's done a bunch of other stuff in and around the content marketing, internet marketing space. So, Rob, thanks so much for being on the call with us today.
Yeah, great to be here.
So before we dive into some of the work you've done, books you've written and stuff like that, and When I Work and how you got on board there, tell us a little bit about your background. Like, what got you into the content marketing space at all?
Yeah, so actually my educational background is in journalism and communications. So it was an intentional move that I made. I always knew that I wanted to work in some sort of business setting, but with journalism, there's kind of a core skill that you learn through that traditional degree, as opposed to marketing. I knew I wanted to do writing. I knew I wanted to get more into business. And so I kind of started my educational career in college as a journalism major so that I could gain some of those traditional writing skills, storytelling skills to kind of aid in my future career. So that's kind of how I started. At that time, social media was really in its infancy. So when I was in college, I helped a couple organizations on campus really develop their social media and brand presence online. It was really new back then, so there wasn't a lot of established strategy or equations that we could implement. It was kind of all on the front line. So I had a lot of fun kind of testing different strategies, coming up with different strategies that I thought would work. And so kind of got started in social media, and then it kind of evolved from there into content marketing, just based on where the industry went. I entered the job force working at a social media agency, and then I've kind of bounced around a couple different agencies and did a little bit of consulting, and ultimately landed here.
Yeah. So how did this book, 100 Days of Growth, come about? In the book on growth hacking, which content marketing is definitely a piece of that, but
right.
But it's also its own kind of own unique space as well. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the really cool thing with When I Work, the startup that I work for right now, is we're definitely in that growth phase. So we're doing a lot of growth hacking. We're in the trenches each day trying to figure out what the secret sauce is to move the needle and to really experience growth. So I have a unique perspective to be able to be focusing on content marketing, but also be impacting growth underneath our marketing team. And so Sujin Patel is our VP of marketing. I actually worked with him previously in my career. He had an agency called Single Grain, and I actually did content marketing for Single Grain. And so we both ended up actually at When I Work. And so we decided that we wanted to tell people about some of the stuff that we were doing. We wanted to help other people and kind of write down all our thoughts and try to organize everything just to make ourselves better, to help our company, and to just start building relationships with people that we think would find value in the content.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that you worked with him at Single Grain, because I definitely know about Single Grain. I know Sujin is good dude, very smart. And now you guys both work at When I Work. Did you come over as a team, or how did that work?
No, it was just completely coincidental. The timing just happened to be around the same time. We were both making a move, and it ended up being at the same spot. So
that's interesting. Okay, yeah. What are the chances?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So now tell me a little bit about When I Work and your role in terms of content marketing, and we'll probably dive a little bit more into that content marketing, like what's been working, what are things that you do, and so on and so forth. But I guess tell us a little bit about When I Work so people have an idea.
Yeah, sure. So When I Work is an employee scheduling platform. It's web and mobile based. It was started around 2010, and since then we've grown it to I think there's over 500,000 users on the platform now, over 30,000 businesses in 50 different countries around the world using When I Work to schedule, communicate, and track time with hourly employees. So if you think about any brick and mortar business really that has, a restaurant or a bar or a coffee shop that has employees with varying shifts, we help optimize scheduling for them so that they don't have to waste time coming up with next week's work schedule in Excel or worse on a piece of paper, which is what a lot of small business owners are doing even still. So it's a tool that business owners can use to boost productivity, and ultimately, we want the relationship between managers and employees to be better, and we want them to be able to spend more time on tasks that help them grow their business and build better teams and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and so tell me a little bit about actually, creating content for that space, because a lot of these small businesses, are they even online? Like, how do you
right? Yeah, so my strategy since I've been here for a little over a year and a half now. My strategy for When I Work has been to develop content that's helpful for the small business owner. So it's not necessarily scheduling based content all the time, but instead it's really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to provide answers to questions that I think small business owners have. And to come to those questions, it's a combination between talking to our customers, doing some keyword research, spending some time on other industry blogs, and there's a lot of stuff that you can do as far as coming up with those general topic areas that end up being your sweet spots. But really, it's been about how do you as a business owner effectively manage your team? How do you do things like boost employee retention, reduce customer churn? How do you bring more customers through the door? What can you do to be more productive as a business owner? So it's that kind of stuff. So small business owners, they might not be the most tech savvy people in the world, but most of the time, they know how to use Google, to ask questions. And so our goal is to be in that list that shows up when they're asking those questions, so that we can leverage ourselves as a thought leader in the space, and then also show them that, hey, there's a product that might be able to help you.
So two questions come to mind anytime I think of content marketing. One is, how do you develop, or maybe three, I guess, so a three-part question here, Rob. How do you, one, come up with the strategy for the content marketing, and how long does that go forward? Do you plan out for the year or something like that? And then I guess actually the second main one would be, then how do you actually measure and track results? Because it's kind of an indirect type marketing from at least that's, I see it as very indirect in a lot of ways, but I'm wondering, so how do you guys, properly measure, the time and energy put into creating great content?
Yeah. So just those two questions then?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So as far as content strategy, typically what I'm trying to do is I try to put together strategies that span a quarter at a time. As I'm sure the internet can change pretty fast. Trends can change pretty fast in the content marketing field, and so I try to plan at least a quarter ahead. There's definitely a strategy that's more of an annual time frame, but it's hard to predict what's going to happen that far in advance. So that's typically what we do, and along with that, just like growth hacking, I try to think of content marketing as an opportunity to test a lot of different strategies in real time and kind of learn from them in real time. So we're doing a lot of A/B testing as far as using tools like SumoMe and Optimizely in order to figure out what do people respond to best on the blog? How can we increase their engagement rate? That kind of stuff. As far as measuring and tracking, it's a lot of time in Google Analytics. It's a lot of time in whatever email client you have. Obviously, you want to set up goals in Google Analytics, and you want to be tracking conversions. For us, that means anything from page views and organic traffic to actually influencing people to sign up for a trial for the product itself.
That's awesome. Very cool. And so what have you found, and I know it changes, but I'm just curious, what have you found that's been really effective recently, maybe in the past few months?
Yeah, so I think the most probably important and effective strategy that we've been implementing for our blog, and kind of we have a couple of sister blogs too that we test different strategies on, but really for us it's first and foremost it's developing high quality content that people are going to be able to use, actionably. We want actionable content. There's a lot of content out there. People have pretty much figured out the whole content production game, and so quality has been a big issue, and it's becoming more and more of an issue as more people, take advantage of content marketing in order to reach new users. And so quality has always been extremely important for us in order to kind of leverage ourselves as authentic and genuine in our engagement with our website visitors and our customers, our trial users, that kind of thing. But really the big strategy that I think most content marketers, most startup entrepreneurs are missing is the promotion and the outreach side of things. When we were writing 100 Days of Growth, it was a big piece for us in order to be successful. What we actually did was, we included, I think it was nine mentions of other websites or companies per page in each tactic. So if you think about it, there's 100 tactics. There's nine references to either people, companies, or case studies or blog posts that authors have written. So, think of how many, it's hundreds of people that you can reach out to once that book went live. And that's what we did. We developed the relationships ahead of time. We let people know that they were going to be in the book, got people excited about it. And we were able to leverage those relationships when it came time to launch. So we're doing the same thing at When I Work. We're being really strategic in the type of content that we create. The quality is there, but it's also promotion-driven content. One thing that we always say is, we never want to create a piece of content that we can't promote because it's just not worth it. Just because of how much content is out there, we put the time and the effort in ahead of time before we even write the post to make sure that we're going to be able to promote it the second we hit publish. We have the process in place. We have the strategy in place so that, we know that it's going to be effective and hit at least a few of our goals.
That's really interesting. I don't know if I've ever heard somebody quite put it that way, which I really appreciate. The idea of, and I think this the quote I just pulled from you, I just wrote it down. You never want to create a piece of content that you can't promote. So tell me a little bit about that. How do you said you put time in before you ever create the content. How do you know, or what's the process you go through to decide, yep, this is this piece of content, we're going to be able to promote it. We'll be able to share it, get traction, whatever, versus like, no, this one doesn't have any legs on it. Like, how do you decide that? And what's your process to decide?
Yeah. So really what it is I try to reverse engineer a blog post from the end all the way back to the beginning. So like I mentioned, it starts all the way at the beginning, at the ideation process. So when you're coming up with blog post ideas, at least when we're coming up with blog post ideas, we'll have our general idea. And then what we're going to do is we're going to try to validate it through a couple of different ways. It kind of depends on what our goal is. As I mentioned, there's promotion-driven blog posts. There's also blog posts where we're going after a very specific keyword opportunity. There's some SEO value that we're trying to go after. So in order to validate, what we're doing is a couple of different things. One, we are trying to see if there's any SEO value at all to the idea. Two, we're using tools like BuzzSumo to see if anyone else has created similar content, and if they have, how did people respond to it? Did they get a lot of shares? Did they get pretty good engagement on social media? Did they have a lot of comments? And we're also using BuzzSumo to figure out, if there is another blog post out there that's similar to our idea, how good is it? Where are the gaps? Are we confident that we can make it better, newer, more unique, more helpful? So that's one area for how we can validate. But secondly, another thing that we do You can use BuzzSumo for this too. There's a couple other different tools that you can use, but if you find a piece of content that's out there, like say we're writing a blog post on content marketing, and we find a blog post that has historically done pretty well, but it's published back in 2014. Let's say we want to publish something that's fresh for 2016. We might use BuzzSumo to find a post that was published in 2014, got a lot of shares. The content was pretty good. You can actually use BuzzSumo to figure out who actually shared that article on Twitter, and so you can start building your outreach list from there. Because our goal is going to be, we're going to create a piece of content that's a lot better and a lot newer for 2016, and then we're going to leverage the list of people that have shared similar content like that in the past. We're going to leverage that list, and we're going to reach out to them when our post goes live and let them know, hey, saw that you've shared this type of content in the past. Just want to let you know that we published something new for 2016 that you might like. The same strategy works for people that have linked similar content in the past. So a lot of times you have people that are referencing blog posts in their own blog posts, and so sometimes over time the blog posts that you link to, they either become really outdated or the blog itself dies, and so you have broken links. So there's a lot of opportunities that you can find before you even write the post to determine if promotion is going to be easy for you when you hit publish. So those are just a couple ideas.
That's awesome. And when you're doing the sharing, do you guys mostly do like when you actually, because I love that BuzzSumo kind of technique or strategy to find people who've already shared a similar piece of content. I mean, that makes sense to me. When you reach out to these people, do you do it via email? Do you do it through like a tweet, or what's been the most effective way to get people to share your new content?
Email outreach is definitely the most effective way to do it, just because social media is people know what social media is. They know that businesses are using Facebook and Twitter to reach out to them, and so similar to, like I said, with content marketing, people are kind of wising. They're getting smarter about what the strategy is, but email still allows you to have a pretty authentic and personal one-to-one communication with the other person. So email outreach has worked really well for us in the past. The problem with the upfront research that I'm talking about and the outreach itself is it all takes time. So you have to really be organized, and you have to be really willing to dedicate the time. There's tools out there that are going to help you automate the process, like Content Marketer is a tool that's going to make that easier for you. There's other tools that you can use, like Boomerang or Yesware to automate the actual sending of your emails, but you still have to take the time to be personal and real with the people that you're reaching out to, because people can, especially marketers, can tell really quickly if you're trying to use an outreach template that's pretty widely available. If you're just you're putting in the brackets and you're customizing for their name or their business name or their blog. So it takes a lot of time to be authentic, but the return can be really, really good.
Love it. Very cool. And so for somebody who's starting, I guess maybe more on the, doesn't have a full-time content marketer, I'm just curious, like, what do you think is like this is a tough question to ask because it definitely depends, but what's an appropriate amount of time to put toward content creation, and then in kind of developing these strategies in and around your content creation? Like, I guess how valuable is that for for maybe somebody who's bootstrapping, who runs maybe a small business, one or two people, doesn't really have a full-time content marketer. I guess how do you because I know it's important. Like I'm quite aware that content has been a really important part of how I built my business. But I'm just curious how somebody just starting out, what's an appropriate way to prioritize content and content marketing?
Yeah, I think it's a time investment no matter what. So that's, you kind of just have to go all in if you want to decide to test it.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I would say is, there's a lot that we're doing as far as lead generation with our content marketing efforts. So I think if you can set it up to where you're getting some real return on investment, other than, the vanity metrics of, we got a lot of likes, we got a lot of tweets for this article. If you can actually set it up so that you're getting something you're building your email list, you're going to feel a lot better about the time investment that you're putting into content marketing. But I would say, just go small and learn small and then scale over time. One thing that I that I recommend people do is, if you're publishing content once a week on your blog, what I would recommend starting with is, use one blog post and make it your primary promotion-driven post for the month. So, maybe you have 4 blog posts, and maybe the other 3 they're helping you as far as brand awareness. They're helping you build some consistency up for content production. But maybe one of them is one blog post that you spend a lot more time as far as doing the research ahead of time, building your outreach list, writing your email templates, and then just see how it does. That way you're not spreading yourself too thin week to week. You can really ramp up your promotion process for one blog post and kind of learn from that and scale accordingly.
That's awesome. Really good advice. I love it. Awesome. So Rob, where can people reach out to you if they want to connect or, take a look at your work or buy one of your books?
Yeah, so people can head to my website. It's robwormley.com. You can also reach out to me on Twitter @RobWormley. Those are probably the 2 easiest places to get a hold of me.
Perfect. Well, Rob, thanks so much for the conversation, man. I really appreciate it. Great insights into content marketing and what makes content marketing successful. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
And that wraps up another broadcast of In the Trenches. If you'd like to check out the show notes, just head over to tommorkes.com/podcast, where you'll find the latest broadcast. And if you enjoyed today's broadcast, please do me a favor and leave a rating and review on iTunes. That's the fastest, simplest, easiest way to support my creative work, and it would really mean a lot to me. As always, this is Tom Morkes, and if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.